Welcome back on Co-Host Friday. Of course, Dee Dee Bridgewater is here, and also joining us now on the couch is David Bunn. He's the musical director of the Ain't MisBhavin production. Good morning. Finally, you can talk now after playing. Thanks for coming on this morning. I know it's early for you as well. Tell me a bit about the production, because this is the first time that you've worked with the great Dee Dee Bridgewater, of course.
I must tell you, I was thrilled. I really was. I never told you this. I was thrilled.
True confessions on your show.
Okay.
I was thrilled to have the opportunity to work with this lovely lady. At first time I was introduced to her, she was doing The Wiz.
So we're talking about when you, when you were crawling.
Beautiful, beautiful song, Believe in Yourself.
Oh yeah, if you believe.
Yeah, and I just fell in love with her voice, and I collected all her albums. I didn't tell her all this. I'm telling her this now, true confessions. Yeah. So I was thrilled, you know, because when to work with Dee Dee Bridgewater, I mean, she has such a tremendous voice, such tremendous range, and she's such an incredible jazz singer and stylist, you know, that it's quite thrilling. And what she brings to Ain't MisBhavin, it becomes just a new show. I mean, it's very exciting. It's very exciting. She takes Fats Waller's tunes and she gives them that jazz and that groove and that feel that Fats would have loved.
And this is a tough show, isn't it?
It's a very tough show. Yeah. Harmonically, it's for me, it's very difficult because I'm used to singing solo. So harmonically, I just found I really had to go back to my really listening and understanding harmonically. I had to analyze his music, and I had to analyze these arrangements in order to do my parts. It's very difficult.
David, you're originally from Maryland.
That's correct.
Telling me,
that's correct.
And you've worked in a number of productions over the years.
Well, you know, I was really brought into theater through Luther Henderson, the gentleman who arranged the music for this show, many other Broadway shows. I met him after graduating from college, and he said, look, you know, and some of the first projects I ever did, I started doing music for Columbia Records, the Canadian Brass, some arrangements for them, and then we did things from symphonic orchestras to Lena Horne, so a variety of artists. Wow. Yeah.
The great Lena Horne.
Yeah.
You don't get much better than that.
Oh,
no. Except for Ella, of course.
Yeah, but no, you're right.
Yeah, she's fabulous. Who, as you working with Ain't MisBhavin, of course, you're also a composer yourself. Who of the composers has most influenced you? Where would you say?
That's an interesting question. I'd probably say three.
Okay.
Duke Ellington, Richard Rodgers, and Stevie Wonder.
What an eclectic mix. All over the map
that's very
there.
interesting.
Yeah, I'd say Richard Rodgers for form, 32-bar form. Duke Ellington for the harmonic structure. And Stevie Wonder for the soul.
Yeah, but he also, I think he has still a very clever way of incorporating jazz.
Yeah, Stevie.
And all kinds of rhythms. It's very subtle, the way he incorporates it into his songs.
Yeah.
And his songs are very, very jazzy.
Oh, very,
very jazzy.
Yeah, very jazzy.
And but he's considered a pop artist.
Yeah, which is neat.
Which is fabulous.
Yeah, but the incredible thing, of course, is he not only composes, but he plays virtually every instrument.
Yes.
Yeah, he does.
As well as the vocals, of course. You don't get many people like that.
That's very true.
All around and that
Do you
kind
play
of
other instruments?
Oh, yeah, I do.
What do you play?
Saxophone, drums.
See, I thought so. Is this true, or is it a rarity that a lot of composers, a lot of musicians who compose also play other instruments than their main instrument? Because that's something that I've noticed.
I think it is true, because you tend to hear, because you're constantly hearing those other instruments in your mind, especially when it comes to orchestrating them. You kind of want to have a feel for the instrument.
So you will pick it up and learn.
Sure.
Huh.
How do you feel the whole Broadway scene has changed over the years? I mean, you know, we've gone back to, of course, the Ain't MisBhavins, and now we're seeing things like Rent, and Chicago has come back, of course. Do you like what you're seeing? I mean, then there's the Smoky Joke Cafe, where we're seeing all the songs put together, which is also a fabulous show, of course. But what do you think of how musical theater is going?
It's kind of done like a complete circle, I think. Because with the Ain't MisBhavin, we're actually back to vaudeville is what we're doing here. And Dee Dee and I were talking about the other night. She said, oh, you know, this is vaudeville. And we were talking about how the people must have felt and talked during shows back in the turn of the century. So I just think it's gone full circle. In many ways, I think it's just a full circle.
What's that old song, Everything Old is New Again?
Yeah. Well, it's kind of like when there's a lull and there aren't a lot of new creative ideas, they revive. And there's so many great musicals, you know, that you can put back on Broadway that you know, I don't think you have a problem. But what I like, I haven't seen this show yet, but I think in terms of the imagery, where they're going with Broadway, like with the Lion King.
Yeah.
That's interesting to me. That they would take an animated thing and turn it into a Broadway show, but with the whole spectacle that they did. Even though Disney's done like Beauty and the Beast on Broadway and other shows, this is the most, I think, original in terms of concept, and really uses all of the forms, the art forms. I think that's very exciting.
Show for
but
the
the
money.
budgets
Yeah.
are doing like we see in film.
Yeah.
They're kind of going through the ceiling.
I also worry about the artists in all of this, because we're getting away from the purity of the show when you have something like animation or the crossover, where
Yeah.
more and more money, the high tech, you know. What does that do for the artist?
Well, I mean, for the individual artist, I think it can be a frightening prospect. You know, for chorus-oriented people, it's a wonderful prospect because that means that there's going to be more work. But for your individual artists, it makes them turn more to off-Broadway, you know, to smaller houses, and but that's always been the case. Broadway has been where the big shows and the big money goes, and it's very rare that you get a small, kind of intimate play that will work on Broadway.
We're lucky enough, of course, to have the 8 MisBhavin. 5 shows left right through until Sunday.
Hey.
Some special prices as well, I'm told, for the matinees on Saturday and Sunday. 8 MisBhavin, of course, is running
2
through.
for 1.
2 for 1.
2 for 1.
Good to know. There you go. Go see, of course, Dee Dee and David all weekend long. Thanks for coming on. You guys are going to come back and play another number for us at the end.
Yeah, of course.
And